everybody, and welcome to session 4 of my senior capstone from St. Helens High School to College. This week, we're going to be talking about summer to dos, specifically things that you should be doing between the time you graduate from high school and the first day you set foot in a college classroom in the fall term. My name is Alwyn, and I use she, her pronouns. I am currently a senior at Portland State University, majoring in math with a secondary education minor. I will be graduating this June, and a week after graduation, beginning my grad program at PSU as well. At the high school, I primarily work as an Avid tutor, so I'm in the Avid classroom weekly. I also run the Learning Lab, which is typically held in the libraries when we're in the building full time. But currently, I'm hosting that online through Zoom. I also work the extra events that the school puts on for academic success, like Cocoa and Cram and the intercession programs. And I'm also an Aspire mentor, and I volunteer that time to work one on one with students who have aspirations of college to help them make sure that they're doing what they need to do to be successful in high school and then to be successful in college. So, as we can look at the schedule, the last 3 weeks we've talked about time management, organization, and self care. Those recordings have been made and will be available to you soon. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to appear yet, but I'm sure an announcement will go out once those are available for viewing. This week, like I said at the beginning, we're going to talk about things to do. So, during the summer before you start school. So, I have been in college for 5.5 years now, and there were things that I wasn't aware of that I needed to do during the summer leading up to my first term. And the feedback I've received from many students that I've worked with at the high school is they're reaching out to me during the summer because there's problems and they don't know what the problem is. So I've been helping students navigate that summer period between high school and college. And I thought I would dedicate a week this week to talking about 5 things you can do during the summer to make sure that something doesn't slip through the cracks. So, the 5 things I'm going to be talking about today are new student orientation, your financial aid account at the college, watching for holds on your account, checking your email, and that's your college email, not your personal email, and then getting familiar with the website and finding ways to engage with others on campus. So, first, let's talk about new student orientation. Most campuses require all incoming freshmen to attend new student orientation. I was 49 years old when I started at PSU, and I was required to do new student orientation. So it isn't an age thing, it is a college is a completely different animal thing, and we want everybody to at least have a level playing field as far as knowing campus specifics before that first term starts. Most of the schools, to my knowledge, are closed for campus this summer. So, for those of you starting college in the fall, you'll probably be attending some sort of virtual orientation. I don't have experience with virtual orientation, so I can't speak specifically to what you can expect. If you were doing an on-campus orientation, things that would happen is you would meet in a large group, everybody who's attending for that day, you would learn some history about the campus. You'd break up into groups and possibly tour the campus, see what the different buildings are, possibly explore the dorms if that's something available on your campus, but to get a lay of the land. For me at PSU, they broke us down by major. So all of the STEM majors went in one group. So I was already interacting with people that I actually am now having classes with. So that was kind of a cool experience. You'll also obtain your student ID card, which for some campuses you have to have that to get into specific buildings. You'll meet with an advisor, and that'll be either a general education advisor if you have not declared a major, or it would be the advisor assigned to your major. So, for instance, I went in as a math major, so I met with the math department advisor. And the advisor is going to just review what you are bringing in with you as far as the classes you've taken at high school, and they're going to help plot out your first year. Now, you are under no obligation to take the exact classes that the advisor has plotted out for you the first year. It's basically just this is a guideline, and you can flip some classes if there aren't prereqs involved. You could say, I don't want to take my math class fall term. I'm going to move my math class to winter term. Totally fine. That's not etched in stone. That's basically just a suggestion for you from the advisor. And then last thing you'll do is register for fall term. Now, for most incoming freshmen, you are required to meet with an advisor before you can register for classes. So until you've met with that advisor, don't even try to register. This is probably the freak out I get the most is students who are trying to register and can't figure out how to register for classes. And they're not able to because there's a block on their account because they haven't gone through orientation. So that is the first thing you need to do before you can register for classes. Also, a fun fact, once the class schedule is available for viewing, you can actually go in and look around and see what classes are offered during the fall term. If you're, whether you have your major declared or not, you can look at all of your general education classes. You can also look at classes in your major, but you can get a feel of what type of classes you may or may not be interested in taking that fall term before you even sit down and meet with an advisor. And I highly recommend doing that as soon as the schedule becomes available. And we're actually going to talk about that in another session coming up later in this series. I do want to give you a note about registering for classes. So typically the way registration opens, it opens based on how many credits you have completed. So as incoming freshmen, you will have 0 credits. You may have some dual credit classes you took at the high school, but you're still going to be in that very low freshman pile. So you are going to be the last group to register. And this is for all college freshmen coming in from the high school. The time for you, in the day and time for you to register is going to open for all of you at the same time. And getting into classes as a freshman can be very difficult uh, because once that time opens, as soon as those slots fill up and the wait list fills up, you're done. You are not able to take that class at all. So you need to plan for some backup classes that you could take in case that happens. Once you get into the upper division level, your junior and senior level classes, you're not seeing that struggle to get into classes. But I have been waitlisted many times, and I have flat out had to change my entire academic year schedule because a class that I planned on taking fall term I could not get into it because by the time it was time for me to register, the class and the wait list were full. So something to be mindful of, and be prepared for because my guess is through your college career, there will be at least one class that's going to derail you because there will be one class that for whatever reason you can't get into. So something to be prepared for now so it doesn't freak you out when it happens. One way to be on top of registration is to record your class preferences before registration opens. This is just a sample I made. This is not actual classes. I do this every term. I plot what classes I definitely want to take, and then I find a couple of backups. So if you look at this schedule, I have 4 classes here. That's actually 3 classes and then a lab and I've plotted the days of the week and the times they occur. So if you see here, based on this, on Monday I would be on campus from 11:30 to 2:50. On Tuesday I would just be here for that one class. My Wednesday is going to be a nightmare day. My first class on Wednesday is at 11:30 and then I would have all these classes after that. So I would be on campus from 11:30 to 6:30 on Wednesday. And then Thursday is just like Tuesday. It's a short day. So I have this schedule. I'm saying this is the schedule in a perfect world. If the stars align and I get my way, this is the class schedule I want. But I'm also being mindful of the fact that by the time I get around to registering, one of these classes or more of them may not be available to me. So I've picked some backups just in case. So I found another day and time for the same math class. Actually, for my imagined scenario, there is an option for me to take that same class a couple hours earlier on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then I added a psychology class here, which would take the place of my biology class. This class is technically with the lab going from 3 to 6:30. If I couldn't get into that biology class, I could plug in this psychology class to fill that space. Um, just something to make note of. Most college classes are registered by using a specific code. At PSU and at PCC, they use this 5-digit CRN number. Every class offering has a completely different CRN number. So rather than going in to register and typing in a really long class name, like Introduction to Biology would be a lot to type in. You type in these 5-digit numbers, and most systems have a way where you can just go into your registration screen and type in a series of 5-digit numbers separated by a comma and hit enter, and boom, you've registered for everything. I learned that early on, and that saved a lot of time. So if you don't have to be as detailed as this, you don't have to do this, obviously. This is something that's working for me. And the point of my capstone is to give you tips and tricks that have worked for me that may help you. But I would recommend, at a minimum, write down the name of the class and whatever number your institution uses for registration purposes. That'll just help save you a lot of time when you do open up to register. And then another thing is some registration windows open at 7 a.m. We're not all morning people, and I get that, but especially your freshman year, if you have a window to register that opens at 7 a.m., I would make special effort to make sure you are up in time to hit that window at 7 a.m. when registration opens. Because again, you don't want to get shut out of any classes that you may need for your major, or there are series that build on one another. So you can't take Calc 3 without taking Calc 1 and 2 and down the line. So um, highly recommend finding a system that works and being mindful of the day and time that your registration opens. I know PSU sends an email out to let you know when you can register. You can also search for the academic calendar on your school's website to get that information as well. Okay, so now let's work to number 2. We're looking at financial aid. So during the summer and throughout the summer, you are going to want to log into your account, log into your financial aid account, and confirm that the loans you're expecting, the grants you're expecting, and the scholarships you're expecting are all listed there. They may show zeros for what's available, especially with scholarships. Scholarships don't show that money's coming to you until the college actually receives the scholarship. So if it has the name of a scholarship and a zero next to it, as long as the name of the scholarship is there, your college is aware that you are receiving money for that scholarship. That zero will change to a dollar figure once the scholarship is awarded. And keep in mind, for most institutions, scholarships that are less than $2,000 are only added to your first term. Scholarships $2,000 or more are generally spread out over your fall, winter, and spring terms. And then you also want to make sure that there's no additional documentation required. Most screens where you look at the list, there will also be a sub list of if there's anything else required, like they need to see tax returns for the last 2 years because there's a question about your FAFSA, or they may need to see proof that you are enrolled in a specific program so that you can actually receive a scholarship that you had won. For instance, if you won a scholarship to be a communications major and you've changed your major to math, you would no longer be eligible to earn that scholarship. So that may be additional legwork you will need to do during the summer to make sure that you still qualify and receive those funds. Also, accept your award. There will be a process in place for your school where you click through a link of a series of pages, see what's available, see whatever legalities are tied to that money. I receive a teach grant because I'm going into the education field. And every year I need to do counseling for that grant and I need to sign an agreement to serve for that grant. So that shows up every year as something I need to do before I can get my first award in the fall. So make sure you accept the award. Make sure you're aware of what you're accepting as well. Roughly 2 to 4 weeks before the term starts, you'll actually be able to start seeing money being funded. But you do have to accept the aid in order for it to actually be dispersed to your account to cover tuition and fees. One other thing that I do want to point out before we move on to number 3 is If you are receiving grants and scholarships and loans, and you don't need your loans because your grants and your scholarships cover your full tuition and fees, you are not required to accept the loan money in full. So you could go in and tell your institution, I don't need loan money at all for a specific term or for a specific year. Or you can say you have scholarships to fund most of it, but you need $1,000 more. You can say, okay, I've been awarded $5,000 a term, but I only want to take 1,000 of it. You have the right to do that. And remember, grants and scholarships are monies that are free to you from a third party, awarded to you based on merit or volunteerism or some other category. That is money you never have to pay back. Loans, you have to pay back. And payback typically starts 6 months after you stop taking classes. So, whether you graduate and earn your bachelor's degree and then decide not to go on to a master's, 6 months after you earn your bachelor's degree, those loans become due and payable. If you drop out of school for whatever reason, 6 months after your last attendance date, those loans become payable and due. So, I encourage you to weigh whether it makes sense to take the full disbursement amount in loans if you don't need it. Now, if you are living on campus and you are not working, um, and so that is your income, then it might make sense for you to accept more than just what will cover your cover your college. And that would be an excellent conversation to have with someone in the financial aid department or a parent or guardian. Um, I know some students that they live off of their scholarships and their loans, and that's fine. But if you don't need the money, don't take the money because that's just going to be more money you have to pay when you're done with your education. Okay, and we will move on to number three. Watch for holds on your account. I touched on a few things that could potentially put a hold on your account. Um, Check these things specifically. Make sure your high school transcripts, your official transcripts, have been received by your college and recorded. If you're submitting SAT or ACT scores, make sure those have been received and recorded. Um, Double check to see if you have to take a placement test. I do know of some students who have graduated from the high school who went higher than the minimum entry level class in a specific subject like language arts or math, but who still had to take placement tests. So just because you took classes in high school that put you into college level as soon as you start college, that doesn't mean you're not going to have to do a placement test. So just keep that in mind. And typically, placement tests are for reading, writing, and mathematics. So be mindful, keep watch on that because you may still need to do that even if you think you've met all the prerequisites for that. And then keep an eye out to see if any other documentation is being required. I mentioned tax returns for financial aid, other documents to support grants or scholarships. Um, if you transferred to the high school from a different institution, um, the college you're attending may want the official transcripts from that other high school as well. I'm not saying that that's happened. I don't recall a student coming to me with that particular issue, but it could happen. So it is really important to be checking for holds on your account, and there should be a way to just go into your account and you might have to do some digging. It might be under an admissions tab or a registration tab or a financial aid tab, but there should be a place for you to click on a link to see if there are holds on your account. And I recommend checking that at least once a week. Probably don't need to check it more often than that. Unless you're getting closer to fall term and you've submitted the required documents, you might want to check it more often to make sure that those documents are getting recorded and that hold is getting lifted. But in many cases, if there are holds on your account, you cannot register for classes. So again, as incoming freshmen, at the bottom of the registration timeline, you want to make sure that any holds get cleared quickly so you have a better chance of getting into the classes you need to take. A little note on high school transcripts. When you apply to college, most colleges want your unofficial transcripts, which is basically the high school work you've done up until the time you applied for college. Once you get accepted to college and graduate high school, that college requires an official copy of your high school transcripts. So I've put the steps here on how to get that taken care of. That's all done through Naviance. So you'll log into your Naviance account. There will be a link that says, or a tab that says colleges I'm applying to. Click on that tab, and there should be instructions on this screen on how to specify the college you want the transcript sent to, and then how you request them. And you can always reach out to Mrs. Chisholm if you have any questions. If you're college bound, my guess is you had at least one conversation with her, but her email is in this slide as well. Feel free to write that down. Number four, check your school email daily. I am on my email every day, and I think most people are now in the digital world that we're living in. You will receive emails throughout the summer from your school. If there's a hold placed on your account, they will email you. If there's a problem with financial aid, they will email you. If there's a problem with your registration, they will email you. So it is important that you are checking your email frequently, at least once a day. And I know that may sound ridiculous, but you don't want anything to slip through the cracks. And I don't know about you, but I have way too much spam in my email. So sometimes those important emails get buried by all the spam. So you'll want to make sure that you're checking your email daily, clearing that spam out, obviously, but making sure that there aren't any emails from the school. And then I would advise creating a separate folder, in your school email system for different departments. So for instance, financial aid and admissions. It just if you needed to find an email rather than scrolling through hundreds of emails in your inbox, you have it in a folder you can go to. And these are all the email folders I have on my Gmail account for PSU. You can see I have an email specifically for admissions stuff, anything pertaining to my bachelor's degree. When I've rented books at the bookstore, I keep my receipts in a folder. GTEP is my master's program. The rest of these are organizations and things I do at the campus, but I do want to draw attention. SFA is student financial aid. So I have a folder for just a general folder for any emails I get from PSU about my financial aid. Then I have a separate subfolder for FAFSA. I have a separate subfolder for my scholarships, and I have a separate folder for Teach Grant. You don't need to break it down as much as I do. I tend to just micromanage my email, and it works for me. For you, it might be I have an email for financial aid and I have an email for admissions, and I'm good, and that's totally fine. Um, I recommend folders only because it limits how much you need to scroll through to find something specific. In my organization video 2 weeks ago, I had shared my foldering system that I use on my computer. I have a folder for PSU and then different categories. If there's an email that's important, I would recommend printing it out into a PDF and saving it on your desktop and then labeling it so that you can go right to that document, open it up, and read it if there's ever a question. And I would recommend keeping every email you get from financial aid and every email you get from admissions. Because more than once, saving my emails from financial aid has saved me when somebody else has contradicted something that had been told to me. Last thing I want to talk about is just getting familiar with the college website and then signing up for newsletters. So I didn't learn this until I was in college, but there is a quick way to pull up information on the internet in general, but it's really helpful on a college website, especially if you haven't been on the college website. If you type the name of the website and then type a space and then whatever it is you're looking for, the internet is going to bring up specific information about the category you typed in attached to that school. So, for instance, if I wanted to search financial aid, I would type pdx.edu space financial aid. And then the things that are going to populate on that search screen are all websites from PSU that have the word financial aid in them somewhere. And the first couple that pop up are always the department because the algorithm is set up that way. So um, get familiar with your college website. You could, search financial aid, search admissions, search majors. I also recommend saving to favorites specific pages on websites. I go back to the mathematics major screen on the PSU website often. And then the last thing I would do during the summer is look for ways to connect with other students. You are not going to school by yourself. You are going to be on a campus with probably thousands or tens of thousands of other students. Um, there's safety in numbers. And this is a lesson I learned really late in the game. When I started school at PCC, I didn't want friends. I was just there for an education. And now the friends that I have made at PSU have been extremely helpful for me, both academically and outside of the classroom as well. So ways to connect for other students. If you're inclined to join student government, perhaps you were a class president at the high school and really enjoyed that experience and want to continue those experiences, student government may be something for you to look into. There's a whole bunch of different clubs on campus, and I'm going to be talking about all of these actually next week as well, during next week's presentation. There's different honor societies. There are national honor societies, and then there are honor societies based on your degree, major, or field. So look into those. If you're an academically inclined student, uh, lots of great scholarship money in those. I was a member of Phi Theta Kappa. Actually, I still am a member of Phi Theta Kappa, which is the honor society for two-year universities. And I won a scholarship through them a couple years ago. So I believe it's totally worth the effort to join these organizations. And then Greek life, for those of you attending schools that have sororities and fraternities, that may be where you find your family for the next 4 years, possibly some family for life. The one thing I left off here is also if you're participating in sports or band or choir or those type of performance um, skills, uh, you'll have a built-in family with the students you work with regularly as well. And then the other thing I would recommend is signing up for newsletters from the different clubs and departments and cultural centers. I know that I get emails from a couple of the cultural centers on campus. They let me know when events are going on. Sometimes they're free events, sometimes they're just parties and socials, sometimes there's contests. But again, getting those newsletters will give you an idea of what's happening on campus. And it may be, if you're a psychology major and maybe the math department's putting on a big social, you may want to go just because it will give you a chance to meet other students. But if you're not signed up for newsletters, you would never know that the math department was holding some sort of social event. And many of these departments and clubs host events during the summer, especially the summer for incoming freshmen. They want incoming freshmen um, to feel comfortable and to feel welcome and to feel like they belong on campus. So you'll find those sorts of announcements coming out, and you'll probably get those just in your general email as well. So, in summary, stay on top of your account during the summer. You don't want to miss out on any hurdles that may prevent you from either registering or attending your classes that first week. Your email is going to be your best friend. Your college account really is going to be your best friend as well. Reach out to campus organizations and clubs, and get out there. Uh, this is a pretty small rural area, so a lot of you who are going to college may not be going to college with your best friend from high school. So going from a small pool to that big giant ocean is going to be a bit of a shift for you. I mean, it was a shift for me as well. And again, there's safety in numbers. So the sooner you can find other students on campus to connect with, the sooner you're going to start feeling more comfortable on campus. And I cannot stress that enough. A lot of students drop out not because of the academics, but because of the isolation. So please do yourself a favor and put yourself out there. Get out of your comfort zone. Even if you're just liking some club pages on social media, you're still interacting with other friends, and you may be able to connect with people virtually before you ever meet them in person in a class or at a club social event. And looking for the people who are look for clubs specifically tied to your major. There is a math club at PSU that I belong to, and many of the people in that club have been in classes with me for the past 2 years because the first couple years you're doing all of your undergrad work, so there's a lot of general education requirements going on. Um, you'll find that the further up and the further along you go, you start seeing the same peers in your classroom because eventually you're getting to the point where you're all pursuing that one degree. Say you're pursuing a degree in biology, and now you're seeing all these same students taking these same biology classes. It happens. I laughed when it happened because I wasn't expecting it. And now I have students that have been in classes with me that I've had in classes for 5, 6, 7 classes because we're all pursuing the same major. So, um, put yourself out there. College is first and foremost an academic platform for you to get the degree you want to go off and conquer the world in whatever field you want to do so. But it's also a place to start making connections with people outside of the circle you're normally in. So if you have any questions or just want to have a chat with me about something covered today or anything college related, I am more than willing to sit down with you over Zoom or in the building if you are in the building. Please write down my email address. I'm available pretty much all the time. And then lastly, I just want to again thank you for coming and supporting my senior capstone project. I hope that you found some value in this event today. And then next week, I'm going to be talking about week 1 of the term, things that you should make sure you're doing on Monday of week 1 of every term for the rest of your natural life. And with that, I will release you into the wild. Thank you again for attending, and I'll see you next week. Bye.